Hello guys, welcome to Gangesh Learning and this is your Ruby class. In this tutorial we are going to see what are symbols as I promised in the last tutorial. Okay, so we are going to see what are symbols. Again we are going into our IRB prompt because that is a very good place to play with simple things in Ruby. Okay, so what are symbols? Symbols, you can say symbols are used in Ruby for naming things, to name things. Now it can be used to name your key, it can be used to name your methods, it can be used to name your attributes. So they are used as names, they are used as kind of flags, and they behave like a constant somebody. Okay, so it's like the way you saw in the hashes. We were using symbols for keys, so that is the way symbols are used. And symbols are very much similar. Symbols are, first of all, how do we write symbols? Symbols are written like a colon and then something like this. So if you have to write a string, what you do is like you write some characters between some quotes, single quotes or double quotes. So symbols are very much similar to strings, and they are written like strings, but they are preceded by colon and they are not kind of followed by colon. So one colon and then you can write similar to string. Okay, so this is your symbol. Now I'm going to confirm that by calling class method. Okay, so symbols are very much similar to strings. You can say like symbols and strings are like they are like twins, but they have very different characters. Strings are like you're jolly, outgoing, and one is like very serious. He doesn't play, he's not very outgoing, he's not extrovert, he's introvert, something like that. So on strings, you have a string hello. You can call a method like chop, which will kind of extract the last character out of the string and it will change the string. Okay, so you can modify your string. Strings are mutable in Ruby, but you cannot do the same thing with symbols. Okay, so you cannot modify them, they are immutable. So there are very less things that you can do with symbols. There are not many methods, there are not many things that you can do with symbols, but with strings you can do a lot of things. So that is one different. And another different, which is very important, is that once defined a symbol everywhere, it you can say points to the same object. Okay, so if somewhere you defined a symbol like this, okay, and some other place you define a symbol like this, then A and B, they both are variables and they both will point to the same object. It's not like, I mean, A and B, they are both pointing to the same object. Okay, so how do we confirm that like they are pointing to the same object? In Ruby, to know whether what is the unique identity of object, like what is the DNA of object, how do you identify like the two things are the same things, two people are actually the same person? In Ruby there is a method called object underscore id. So if object underscore id returns the same value, then it means they both are same objects. That is kind of their ultimate identity, that is their DNA, that is the thing which identifies them. Okay, so here you can see that A and B, they both have same object underscore id. So we are initializing our symbols at two places, but they both are pointing to the same object. So in memory there is only one location where all these strings are, all these variables are pointing. Okay, so if somewhere else I again define C hello, then again it will use to the same memory location. It is the same object. So that way, when you are using symbols, you are actually saving a lot of space. So that is why hashes, methods, attributes, we use symbols, because once you define a hash, there are so many places you are going to access their values. So you are not going to spend a lot of memory just to name something, just to identify something. Okay, so symbols are kind of a very efficient thing. and also you will be very sure that nobody is going to play with the keys because they are immutable. So it's a very safe bet to use symbols as keys, methods, attribute names. Okay, now we are going to just confirm that symbols always create this point to the same object. We are going to do the same thing with strings. So x is equal to hello. Okay, and then y, we are again defining another string hello. Okay, so we have kind of initialized two strings, okay, inside two variables, and now we are going to prove that they actually, x and y, are actually going to point to different objects, unlike symbols. Okay, x object id, this is the object id, and y object id. So you can see that these two numbers are different. So we used strings at two places, and we ended up with two objects in two locations in memory. So using a lot of strings is going to just eat up your memory. Okay, so that is why if you don't have to do a lot of data processing kind of things, if you have to use just your string as naming something, as a name of something, then just use symbols. So going forward in Ruby, you are going to see a lot of things where somewhere we will be using symbols, somewhere we will be using strings. So it will be very clear going forward, like where to use symbols, where to use strings. So but this is the main difference, like symbols always point to the same object, and strings, whenever they are initialized, they just create a new object in memory. And symbols, they come with very lesser number of methods. You cannot play with them, they are very serious, you cannot change them. And with the strings, you can just play with them. There are so many methods to work on them. Okay, so that was all. Hope you guys liked this tutorial, and thumbs up if you liked, and subscribe to me, and just let me know if you have any questions regarding this. Okay, thanks.